everyone! Well, we made it through another month. So far, my May has mostly been reading. I've actually been reading a book written by an acquaintance of mine. What's funny is we met through this organization here in Dallas. It's called Dallas Street Dog Advocates. And they do the most amazing work. They've been going around even throughout this whole pandemic, rescuing dogs from the streets of Dallas and taking care of them, nursing them back to health. They rescue a lot of pregnant mama dogs, and they always have these adorable puppies. I actually found out about them through my vet's office, and so I like them. I'm not as actively involved with them as I would like to be. I have taken pictures for them once, and I try to donate to them when I can. But this girl, Megan, is that how you pronounce her name? Her name is spelled Magan, so I'm guessing it's Megan, but I may be wrong. She and I connected up through Twitter, and we talk a lot. Funnily enough, well, I guess not, because we're both fangirls. We talk mostly about cute guys, and then I find out not only is she involved with Dallas Street Dog Advocates, but she also is an author, and she has several books out, and one of them is called Heartthrob. And get this, it is like 1990s fan fiction of Devon Sawa. I about died when I heard that, and of course I had to read it. I bought it right there on the spot, and I'm about halfway through, and oh my gosh, it's just making me so happy right now, because if you grew up in the 90s, you probably at one time or another had a crush on Devon Sawa. I know we all watched him as little girls in Casper. and then I still have my old VHS recording of Night of the Twisters, because I was I guess a nerdy little kid. I was very fascinated by tornadoes. I still am, but after almost driving through one, I don't think they're as fun as I used to. But no, so when I was a kid, I was really obsessed with tornadoes. And I read the book Night of the Twisters, and I loved it. It was one of my favorites. And then the movie came out, and I still have the VHS. It starred Devon Sawa. So of course I'm reading this book, and anyway, also going on about Devon Sawa right now. But it got me kind of thinking about it's called Heartthrob by Megan Vernon. Megan, is that how you pronounce her name? Correct me. But I'll add the links down in the video bio so you can check it out if you're a 90s girl like me and you grew up with a little crush on Dear Devon. And he and Macaulay Culkin are so funny on Twitter right now. Oh my gosh, I love them. They're great. But anyway, so reading that had got me thinking about inspiration. And I thought for my first May video, I might do something a little different than what I have been doing. I've been doing the read-alongs for April, and I will still continue to do them. I have some more of B. Ellen Gardner's books that I want to share with you, as well as some more trashy romance novel and Once Upon a Midnight Clear. But today I thought I would just kind of talk about my very first book, Cemetery Tours. And I started thinking about this because normally during this time I would be at a lot of different book signing events. I would be at Comic-Cons, I would be at book festivals. I really, really, really would love to get more involved with schools and libraries. And, doing those kind of events, they're great not just for sales, but because you really get to connect with readers. You get to connect with aspiring writers, and they can ask as many questions as they want about your books, about your process. And, it's a really great opportunity for both readers and writers to talk about books. And, since I'm not going to events this year, I don't really have that opportunity. So I thought I would share a little bit of cemetery tours with y'all. Not the words themselves, but the story, maybe some fun facts, do like an author audio commentary or a behind the scenes. That's it. This is kind of a cemetery tours behind the scenes video. So I guess the first thing I want to start off with was that is not the original cover. This is. I started writing cemetery tours actually in 2010. It goes back to, well, the story I tell people is that I suffered a personal loss, a very sudden and unexpected loss, and I started writing cemetery tours to make myself feel better. The truth is, I did experience a loss, but that loss was my cat. I came home one day, actually, I could tell you the exact date. It was October 23rd, 2010, because it was the day that just ruined my life. And my little 4-year-old ragdoll Figo, I just found him, and it was devastating. I can't even, it's been almost 10 years now, and I still can't really go into it without crying. So I'm not going to do that. But, so yeah, I was heartbroken. I spent the next day, I was so just devastated and depressed. I spent half the day watching 16 and Pregnant on TLC. And then when that was, I think, it may have been Lifetime. I guess it really doesn't matter. I don't remember what channel it was on. So I spent the day watching that. And then after that ended, I started flipping through the channels because honestly, I couldn't do anything except for sit in front of the TV and cry and watch TV. So I started flipping through the channels, and I noticed there was an advertisement, or I noticed there was a new show on that I guess it wasn't new, but I hadn't heard of it before, and it was called Ghost Adventures. And I'm thinking, okay, that sounds like something that I would enjoy. So I grew up loving Halloween. My mom is a huge Halloween, scary movie, spooky loving lady. And so when I was a kid, I was not allowed to watch Dumbo because she thought it would traumatize me and make me cry. But I was totally allowed to watch Bram Stoker's Dracula and like America's Most Haunted. So if that gives you any clue as to how I was raised, there you go. So I started watching Ghost Adventures, and I kind of loved it. It was great. And I can't say that it was Ghost Adventures itself that made me start writing cemetery tours. It was more along the lines of I needed a way to know that my Figo was still with me. So I went to the library. I got all these books on the afterlife, especially animals in the afterlife. And I started writing a ghost story to make myself feel better. And I knew what it was going to be about. It was going to be about a young man who could see and talk to the dead, and he meets a girl, and she's haunted by the ghost of her cat. That is how Cemetery Tours was born. I don't even know if I had any intent to publish at the time when I started writing it. I just knew I needed to write it. So Cemetery Tours, okay, so for those of you who don't know, it's about a young man. He can see and talk to the dead. He's tried his whole life to keep it a secret. My pitch is that there's a little bit of romance, a little bit of suspense, and a lot of ghost hunting. But before it, so it's about my young man. His name is Michael Sinclair. He meets the girl next door. Her name is Kate Avery, and her brother is haunted. But the way it started out, I still have all my original rough drafts. It started out, I'm pretty sure Michael's name used to be like Nick Tanner. I think that was his name originally. And he originally travels up to the Pacific Northwest and meets a young bartender. I think her name was Mira. And I mean, it was so different when I first started writing it. And, of course, Mira has her cat in the bar. And her best friend, I think, is going through a loss. And that's how I guess, Nick kind of got involved with her. And then, I don't know, that story kind of fizzled out. then, okay, I'm saying then a lot. I swear I'm a decent writer. I'm an okay writer. I'm not a very good talker. I've never been good at public speaking. Usually when I have to like read in public, I'm somewhere that serves wine, and so that's how I survive giving public talks and speaking. But I haven't been drinking at all doing any of these videos, and you can probably tell. Anyway, so I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, guys. What was I talking about? It's just gone. It's just gone. I wish I knew how to edit these videos because I absolutely don't. Oh, okay. I remember. So, this story, I've kind of written it along. It's kind of going nowhere. And then I was over at my friend Kara's apartment one night, and she's a big Criminal Minds fan. And me, I'd seen a grand total of 1 episode. I saw the episode where after Penelope gets shot, and they're trying to catch the guy who did it. And of course, all I see when I'm watching this the first time is Garcia and Morgan, and I'm thinking, ooh, he's hot. Why doesn't she hook up with him? And later on, I got addicted to the series, and I found out, oh, they just have a cute friendship relationship, whatever. But I was so distracted by Garcia and Morgan that I didn't even notice the true man who would capture my heart later, and that, of course, is Dr. Spencer Reed. So I was over at my friend Kara, she had it on, and it just happened to be the episode where Reed gets anthrax, and I'm watching him, and I'm thinking, oh, he's so cute. Oh my goodness, I don't want anything to happen to him. Oh, just fangirling out of control, and I knew they wouldn't actually kill him off because he's one of the main cast members, but oh my goodness, he just sent my little heart a-fluttering. And I drove home that night thinking, that's him. That is my guy. That is my guy who can see ghosts. He's perfect. And so I started rewriting my Ghost Stories book, and I think at the time it was just called Ghost Stories because I'm really bad at titles, y'all. If you haven't noticed, I have a book about a boy band, and it's called Boy Band. I'm not good at titles. I have a trashy romance novel. It's called Trashy Romance Novel. That's it. So I went home and I started working again on Ghost Stories. And this time I renamed him. I named my guy Michael Sinclair. I figured that was a much better ghost hunting or ghost medium name, I guess. He doesn't even like being called a medium because he can't channel. They're just there. So, the only character that actually stayed consistent throughout the whole series is Brink, who is Michael's best friend. He's an 18-year-old ghost. He died in the early 90s. And if he was going to be cast, or if I was going to cast my perfect actor for Brink, you already know that Matthew Gray Gubler is Michael Sinclair. But Cody Lindley would definitely be Brink. Hannah Montana era Cody Lindley. And for those of you who don't recognize the name, he's Jake Ryan. That's something else I've been doing throughout this quarantine. I've been watching Hannah Montana on Disney Plus just because it makes me happy. And I swear, every time I see Jake Ryan, I think, that's Brink. That is my 18-year-old skater boy ghost. He's perfect. So Cody and Matthew, if you're watching this, if you want to ever get together and make cemetery tours into a movie, I'd be totally down for that. But so I want to go back to Matthew Gray Gubler for a minute, just because he's so perfect and I'm in love with him. And honestly, if I was going to pick one celebrity to marry, it would be him. It would be him. So a few years after I published Cemetery Tours, I have a friend out in California. Her name's Kaylin. And she messaged me going, guess what? I'm going to go to a show with Matthew, or one of Matthew Gray Gubler's comedy shows that he's performing here in California. And I about flipped. And I said, will you give him a copy of Cemetery Tours? So I sent her a book. And sure enough, she gave it to him. And she sent me a picture of him holding it. And this is a pillow, guys. I have a picture of Matthew Gray Gubler holding cemetery tours on a pillow. And sometimes I hug it. So yeah, I've told people this story at, I'm so ridiculous, this is so embarrassing. I don't know if I'm even going to publish this. But no, I tell people at Comic-Cons, this is one of my favorite stories to tell, that I have a picture of Matthew Gray Gubler holding my book on a pillow. And for those of you who don't believe me, here it is. It's real. He's so beautiful. When we make a cute couple, I think we would. Anyway, so, and if we're going, okay, so moving on, continuing on, I guess now we're on the Dreamcast session of this behind the scenes talk. I originally, actually, I guess back to the writing process. At one point, even after I had decided that Matthew Gray Gubler was my main guy, I still hit, I call it the chapter 7 curse. I hit the wall where I thought, I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know how to make this the story that it needs to be. And this is where Ghost Adventures comes back in. I realized, oh my gosh, I need to get like a Zach Bagans character in there. I need to get a superstar celebrity ghost hunter involved in this story. Thus, Luke Rayner came to be. And now I didn't want to make him too similar to Zach Bagans because Zach Bagans is kind of funny. If you're watching this, Zach, I love you too. Sorry, I got distracted again. This is so bad. See, this is why I should probably just stick with reading the books rather than like talking about them and giving you the 411 because I'm just such an awkward person. I'm not good at talking. But so when I was thinking of Luke Rayner and who I would want to portray him, I realized I didn't want him to be too similar to Zach. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to make him blonde, but I still kind of want to make him kind of muscular and hot. And so I went with Jensen Ackles as an inspiration for him because, you know, he's in Supernatural. He's actually from my hometown here in Texas, which is really, really cool. And yeah, so I went with him. But recently, ever since I started watching Defending Jacob, I've been thinking, ooh, you know, Chris Evans would make a good Luke Rayner too. Chris, I love you too. You're beautiful, man. See, reading the Devon Sawa book has really got me thinking about, oh yeah, this is the hot guy I would cast for this role, and this is the hot guy I would cast for this role. So yeah, Luke Rayner. I actually love Luke. He's one of my favorite characters to write, because even though he is kind of, I don't know, he can be full of himself and kind of a douche, he actually does have a heart of gold, and he cares about his friends a whole lot. So, oh, and here's a fun fact. A few years ago, my sister and I actually went to Las Vegas just to visit Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum. It was really cool and really creepy. I would love to go back. It's so well done, and honestly, the whole time you're there, you feel like you have to keep looking over your shoulder because you just know something's watching you. And my sister actually got scratched on her neck. She looked at Peggy the doll, which I wasn't gonna do because she's supposed to make you sick if you look at her. So I stayed very respectful. I did not look her in the eye, but my sister did. She wanted the full experience, and she got it. That's another thing. Something that people ask me a lot of times when I talk about cemetery tours is they wonder if I've ever had an experience with ghosts. And the answer is yes, absolutely. I absolutely believe in ghosts. I grew up in a house where both of my grandparents died and has also been haunted by numerous cats and a mysterious white like shadow person in the back of the house, which I never believed in. My dad and my sister told me about him over and over, and I kept saying, no, you're not right. Nope, I don't believe it. And then I saw it one night, and I'm gonna sound absolutely crazy, but it's true. I was in the bathroom, I was brushing my teeth, and out of the corner of my eye, I just see this shadow figure walking towards me, and I honestly thought it was my mom. And I looked at it, and I mean, it scared me so much. I jumped a foot in the air, I jumped back, it jumped back, and then almost as if I had startled it, or it felt bad for scaring me, it just went off to the side into this room that was shut, or the door was, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I just saw it. So yeah, no. But my best ghost story is, I guess, a year or two after I published Cemetery Tours, I took a history tour of the Colony, which is a town a little up north of where I live, here in Dallas. And our first stop was this really old cemetery. And they told us a little bit about the ghost stories. Oh, all the houses surrounding have the same experiences at night, where the kids' toys will be played with and scattered. It was so cool. But anyway, so I'm walking around taking pictures of this graveyard because I love photography and I love graveyards. And I think they're just so beautiful and they're so peaceful. And but there was this tree. So all the graves were kind of centered around this one area, right? And there was this tree off to the side. And as I'm looking at this tree, something just keeps calling me over, and I'm like, why? There's really nothing over there. But near the end of the tour, I thought, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna go over and see. And sure enough, there was a broken headstone underneath this tree. And when I got close enough to see, all that was carved into this gravestone were my initials, JES. And I felt my stomach just drop. My whole body went cold. It was so weird and cool, and I still think about that a lot. So yeah, I absolutely believe in an afterlife. I believe in ghosts. And I really wrote these books. I've honestly, during this time of fear and sickness, and with so many people unfortunately succumbing to this illness, I thought, maybe it's not the best time to be talking about ghost stories. Maybe it's not the best time to be talking so much about a book that kind of focuses a lot on death. But then I thought about the reasons I started writing Cemetery Tours, and that was, like I said, to make myself feel better after losing my baby, my cat. And the whole point of the series is I'm trying to make the argument, honestly, it's hopefully to make people feel better, to give them a little bit of hope. That's what Michael ultimately decides, I think in the third or the fourth book, when he decides to finally embrace his abilities. He wants to speak out to let people know that death isn't the end, that there is an existence after this life, and that we will see our loved ones, both human and animals, again. I will fight anyone who tries to tell me that animals don't have souls or who don't go to heaven. I refuse to believe it. I have to see my cats again one day in the afterlife. So yeah, so I think ultimately I wrote Cemetery Tours not to scare people, even though I do love a good scary story, or to get Matthew Gray Gubler to fall in love with me, which I actually dedicated the fourth book to him, and I told him, yes, Matthew, I will marry you. So whenever you wanna send me a ring, I'll let you know. I'm available in here. But yeah, so that's kind of what I was hoping to do with Cemetery Tours. What else can I tell you about this little book? I guess it took me, like I said, I started writing it in 2010. I didn't publish it until 2013, so it took me that long to get it right, to get it edited, to decide what route I wanted to go with publishing. And I ultimately decided on independent publishing because I trust myself with my books. I don't know how, I'm not good, I guess, at group projects. Growing up in high school and college, I hated group projects. If I had the option to either work by myself or work in a group project, I'd always just pick working by myself because I'm kind of a control freak and I know what I want from my books. I've actually recently just re-edited and republished the entire Cemetery Tour series. This is actually one of my early proof copies, so it doesn't have all the cute designs and artwork that the new versions have. But yeah, that's something that I really love and appreciate about independent publishing, along with keeping all my rights and all my royalties. So, if there are any more questions about Cemetery Tours or the series, this video is about 30 minutes long, and I think I've really said everything that I sent out to say. If you have any questions, or if you would like to read my little ghost story, it is available on Amazon. It is available on Kindle Unlimited. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, y'all. And I will get back to my read-alongs soon, I promise. Bye!